Oh my
Hi.
gosh. Hi, Ambe.
Hello,
MBJ
hello, hello.
Williams.
It
Welcome.
me.
Hey. Oh my God. I'm so excited to have you here on the Artist Business
Likewise.
Plan. So, Ambi J. Williams is a self-taught portrait and commercial photographer slash director based in Brooklyn, New York. She holds a BFA in theater arts from the University of the Arts. She fancies herself as a river flowing, picking up new things along the way. Ambi, welcome to the Artist Business Plan.
Thank you. That was so lovely.
Yes.
A lovely
Uh,
cold read.
a fun, delightful little cold read. Um, for some fun context, Ambi and I met in what, 2000 and
14. I'm not going to claim 2010.
no, no, you're right. You're right.
Definitely,
You're right.
definitely 2014.
For right, because you were
A long
Ambi and
time
I,
ago.
yeah, we met doing this wild musical called Legend
Yes,
of the
yes,
Word.
yes,
And
yes.
I think though we met in its second or third iteration.
Hmm.
So that's
Hmm.
why I'm thinking 2010. But I think you're right. I think we met in like 2013, maybe.
Somewhere around there. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. In
Anyway,
the realm of reality, which sounds bizarre.
yeah, very strange and in a very different lifetime for both of us.
Oh my God,
Uh,
entirely different human being.
yeah, completely. So I guess that leads
Yeah.
me to the first question that I always ask everybody, which is what does success mean to you?
Success mean to me? It's like that question, it's kind of loaded, because
Mm,
um it feels like however way you answer it can sound kind of cliche, but
yeah.
I guess I was thinking about this answer and this question, and it's like on one hand, success, I am an American born of two business owners, so
Yeah.
success means to me like a very sort of typical, how can I pay my bills? Am I able to support myself? And the more like the most practical answer, yeah, that is success to me, being able to rely on myself and my support system. And so then beyond that, it is sort of an answer of what kind of support do you have? Like, how is
Mm.
your mental stability? How is your community? And like, how
Yeah.
can people around you provide that extra cushion that
Mm.
it's just impossible to have by yourself? And and I feel like that sort of independence, while is so integral to like American society, but it's also about success. To me, is also about what your community looks like
Mm.
and how you can have that safety net, whether it's just your friendships, that you can go to, or a mentor you can go to, or your professional sort of community, and reach
Mm.
out with questions. And like, that's something that I've definitely learned to prioritize in
Yeah.
my work life, is like not being afraid when I'm like, I don't know what this is,
Yeah.
please help me.
Help me. Oh my gosh.
Generally, people want to help, a lot
Yeah,
of the
they really
time.
do.
So, it's not surprising to me because, like, I don't know, just I'm a generous person, and I want, I hope that comes back to me as well.
Yeah.
And so far it has. So yeah, I guess success
Yeah.
is like such a multifaceted answer, but
Mm.
yeah, that's my answer.
I love that. I mean, it's so fascinating because I've become obsessed with this question of how do you deem success because
Hmm.
I have found the older I get, it has turned into this like kind of beautiful practicality. Whereas I think
Hmm.
when I was younger, it was like, I want to be known. I want to be
Mm,
famous, right? Like,
yeah.
to me, success had once upon a time meant recognition. And like, it's just so fascinating, especially following your career, Ambi, because
Mm,
like, you know, I'm obsessed with you as a photographer. But you know, before we like dive into the photography business that you've kind of grown and excuse me, I just hit my mic.
I
uh
mean, you gotta keep you on your toes.
hey. uh oh my god. But before we dive into like your whole photography business, can you just take us through chronologically your
Mhm.
creative career, because photography was not your first art form. Um and like, you know, I'm so curious to what the success looked like to you before you switched careers and devoted to this new side of you, which is also shifting right now. But yeah, I
Yeah.
just big question. Have at
Big
it.
question.
Yeah, gonna take a sip of coffee.
So, what has been my journey professionally? Yes, it's always been in a creative space, 100%. So my career started, after college. I did go to school for theater and musical theater at that. My trajectory at the time was Broadway. I expected to be on a national tour right out of the gate, dabble a little bit, and then hop onto the Broadway stage. I mean, for me, that was success, 100%. And obviously, like any creative career, there you wind and you find your people and you find your sort of niche, or you don't.
Right.
And so I was working as an actor for about a decade. And within that time, about like maybe 8 years in, and within that 8 years, I worked off Broadway. I worked, regionally. I did a lot of shows all over the country. I did do a couple of national tours, and I had a great time. I loved performing, and I do love performing.
Yeah.
But I was looking for something that would, I don't know, find that I could find some joy and
Mm.
creativity without any sort of end result.
Mm.
I was just looking for a hobby. And I feel like when you're an actor, it's so involved and it's so all encompassing. And it's like if you're not pursuing that career path and you try something else, it's almost like you're cheating on it. And
Yeah.
I feel like, that is like such a feeling that a lot of people experience. And so within that 8 years, I picked up a camera. And to me at the time, this felt like a very random choice. It was just like, I want to do something, I want to draw, I want to paint, but I have to practice at that. And with
Yeah.
photography, I can just take the photo and it's there. Uh, Obviously naive,
No,
okay?
of
Like you
course.
need you need to
Yeah.
practice photography. But at the time I was like, nailed it, got it. And so I was on a contract. I was doing a production of Beehive the musical, and so I just was bringing I know, classic, Motown era
Mm.
60s musical review. And so while I was doing the show, it was a very like easy contract. It was like 4 days, 4 shows a week. It was super easy. So I had all this time
Oh.
on my hands. And so I was just shooting everything. I was going on walks, shooting nature. I was shooting my castmates. I was shooting the crew. I was shooting anyone who wanted photos. And while I was doing that, I was like really, gaining a lot of experience because I was becoming kind of obsessed with photography.
Mm.
And so at that point, like any um, you know, I don't know, entrepreneur spirit, spirit kind of person. I was like, let me make a website.
Yeah.
So, I was like, let me just go ahead and buy a URL and build a website, just put my photos on there. And like, if anyone wants to purchase photos from me, we'll see. And so I remember charging like a ridiculous rate, something super low. And people wound up buying a few headshot sessions. And I was like, that's crazy. Okay, now I have to actually do it. Okay.
Mm.
And so it really just started as a let's just see and as like a question mark.
Yeah.
And that was around 2016. And that's like when I started shooting a little bit more. And I was still auditioning, I was still acting, like that was still my main focus. But it was nice to have another sort of side job while I was auditioning. And then around like 2018 is when I was really starting to build my business. And I was like, let's actually like go back. Let's, read some books. Let's watch a bunch of YouTube videos. Let's like
Mm.
really hone my skills so that I can continue moving forward in this craft. And so around 2018 is when I decided to let go of my agency, you
Mm.
know, and I was like, let's just try to build this thing and see what happens.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that was when I decided to go full time into photography. And so it was enough where I didn't need a second job, which
Yeah.
was like so freeing,
Ugh.
because it was like at a certain point, when you're working a million different side hustles and catering and, all whatever side job you're doing,
Sure.
it just felt like I could be anywhere else but here. And I remember that feeling, it was
Oh.
so distinct. And I was like, I'm wasting my life, like our
Yeah.
lifetime is precious and, finite. And I can't put another fork down on this table. So,
Yeah.
so when that day arrived, I was like, let me just jump on it and like make this happen.
Yeah.
And so, fortunately I was in a position where my husband and I, like, we both actually started to pivot into photography because I became so obsessed with photography that he picked up a camera. And then he started becoming obsessed with photography. And then we were
Oh
like,
my
let's
God.
shoot weddings, let's shoot events, let's just figure it out.
Just
And
go for it.
so then yeah, and so and he is a musician and made a pivot as well. So we were both like making this pivot together. So that's also why I didn't feel as
Mm.
scary, And
Oh.
so I can't say like I did this all by myself. And that's what I mean about the community. Like it was really
Yeah.
the fact that we had each other to support each other, and to like kind of bond over the kind of the fear together, in a
Yeah.
way. That absorbed a little bit of it. And so then, yeah, so from 2018 on, we just have been growing my studio here. I have a home studio based in Williamsburg, Brooklyn. And so, as you can see, there's lots of backdrops.
Yeah.
And so I shoot primarily in my home studio, I shoot portraits
Yeah.
and actor portraits, actor headshots. That's mostly my main client base, here in my home studio
Mm-hmm.
because it's also my people. So it's like I
Yeah.
come from
Yeah.
that world. Now I'm just on the other side of it, but there's a
Yeah.
relatability there, and there's a bond, and there's a connection there that's just
Absolutely.
inherent.
Well, I love this thing of catering and what you mentioned before, and I'm wondering, like,
Uh
can
huh.
you, uh, you alluded to it slightly. So I'm wondering if there's just any anecdotes from that time that stick with
Of
you.
catering. Oh my
Oh my
God.
God, your face! But yes.
It's like, oh God, it's so horrible. I
Yeah.
mean, like sometimes what's so bad? Like I went to the New York Public Library last year, like
Hmm.
on 42nd,
Yeah.
and it's a beautiful space. It's gorgeous. It's
Oh,
so stunning, and it's just
stunning.
like antique and beautiful books, and it's gorgeous.
Mm,
All
mm.
I could think about was like, oh yeah, I used to put all of the plates over there, and then we would roll all of the lugs with all of the cups and everything over here, and
Ugh.
then we would be in the garbage section over there in that little, other extra room, and like I was like,
Oh Oh my
Like,
God.
no.
Wow.
Let me think. Let me think. I mean, I was going to say some of the most fun I had was working. I used to work at the Gansevoort Hotel, like
Oh.
on like 28th and 5th, like
Yeah.
nightlife. Like I used to do coat check, like I wouldn't come home till 4 in the
Oh,
morning.
it
I
hurts.
mean, and this is a long time ago. So this is like peak, like David Guetta, like fist pump, like
Mm.
like that, 2010s, peak 2010s, everyone's wasted.
Oh.
Um, and so, yeah, just this, like the crazy people, I mean, but we were also having a good time too. Like we'd be like,
Mm.
oh, the bartender, like make us a drink too. So we could party. Then like I remember, we would run coat check. We would also run the what's it called, like banquet, so like the
Mm.
events, like the private
Yeah.
parties. We would run those. Then sometimes they would like rent out like a penthouse,
Mm.
and so you might have like one or two servers. And I remember we got to do, it was like me and one other was it just me by myself? I think it was just me by myself.
Oh God.
And it was Khloe Kardashian, like for her like lip gloss
Oh
or
my
something.
God. Of
Like,
course.
I don't know. This was like they were like really were nailing it with like all like Skims and like, all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But like
Mm-hmm.
at the
Mm-hmm.
time I remember being
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, this is my life. Uh, you know,
Yep.
what else with catering?
Oh man.
I mean, like there,
Sorry.
go ahead. Go
No,
ahead.
it makes hearing you kind of just talk about it, it just makes me want to see your photography series of like behind the scenes. Like I
Oh my
would
God,
love to
trauma.
see, well, but I think it's so interesting because like, catering is such a huge backbone of this city in particular. The
Yeah,
city that is run on events and banquets and
yeah.
award shows,
Parties. Yeah.
parties. And like I
Hmm.
would love to see your like portraiture of the caterers
Oh my
or
God, I would have
anything.
never thought of that. That
I don't
is,
know.
I'm gonna write that down
Love
so I
that.
can
Love that.
re-traumatize myself.
Woo!
Okay, I think the worst. Okay, I have two stories. The
Okay.
worst was probably um was when I remember we were working some event. This was like out in Connecticut somewhere,
Mm.
and instead of having tables, a table, heard of one of those? No, instead we were holding this cold tray of oysters
Oh no.
and with ice all over, melting all over us. And I dropped it, and it was like a
Oh
disaster. Yeah, it was a
no.
mess, and it was like so embarrassing.
Oh, I'm
And
sorry.
that it's also like, I don't even care about this job. Why am I
Why?
so like embarrassed? You're like, don't look at me. But it's
Oh,
like also like, why not put it on a table? Why are we
right.
holding this?
Wow.
Oh my God. But then also part of it was kind of fun because I
Mm.
was younger then, but also like it was kind of fun because you were at all these events. And so like we got to meet, Spike Lee and Lenny Kravitz and like
Mm.
Martha Stewart and like, these like big time people. They weren't like interested in meeting up. Well, actually, Spike Lee, I remember he was like, oh, look at these bartenders looking good. And I
Oh
was
my
like,
God.
um, but like, so there were moments like that were kind of fun. But at a certain point, it was like after the umpteenth wedding at such and
Yeah.
such catering hall, I was like, I
Done.
can't, if I lay down one more knife, like I might flip this table.
Yeah.
So it was like that,
Yeah.
and that's when I was like, I need to get a camera. And I remember, actually, speaking of
Huh.
catering, I remember the day that I bought a camera on Craigslist, and it was
Oh,
250. I remember going to the bank and like meeting this girl at Starbucks and like bought her camera,
love.
and I was so excited. And I remember people were like, while we were, setting up or whatever, they're like, Amber, why are you so happy? And I was like, I just got a camera and I'm so excited.
Oh. I love that. Oh my
Yeah, and then there was like
God.
a bunch of actors, so they were like, "Oh, well, if you need to practice doing headshots, like I'll do it," and
Love.
so that was part of the
Wow.
journey.
It's so I love all of this because there's something so interesting about switching careers inside of the arts, right? The
Hmm.
capital T and the capital A. And being someone that went from performing where there's so many facets that need to come together in order for you to have a quote unquote successful career, right?
Hmm.
And even when you are working, there is this strange feeling of, is this enough? Is this like,
Hmm.
do I feel like I'm actually living the life that I
Yeah.
can live? So, like, when you started to get into photography, or even where you are now, let's say, because I'm sure there
Hmm.
were a lot of ups and downs inside of photography itself, but like, what do you feel like you got from being an actor that really influenced you as a
Oh,
photographer today?
everything. Everything.
Yeah.
Because as a photographer and as a portrait photographer, because I shoot people and photograph and create performance.
Mm,
And so when you come from being a performer and have been directed, there is a sense of understanding of what actors need.
mm,
And so because I shoot talent forward people, so meaning like performers, musicians, people who are trying to tell a story with their presence, like with their likeness. um, that sense of understanding is really inherent in my work.
yeah.
um, because I like to find those little moments, those like in betweeny moments,
Yeah.
where people finally relax, or that moment where we're really trying to be decisive, or
Mm.
we're passive, or we're suspicious, things like that. So even in those, even though it's mostly I shoot stills, you're still telling,
Hey.
yeah, you're still telling a story.
Yeah.
So it's definitely all throughout my visual work is my acting.
Yeah.
100%.
It's what I always love about hearing you talk is there's just so much positivity that you just are someone
Oh.
that like leads with positivity. And I think it's because of you being someone that has such a strong community and has built a strong community over the years, and kind of reaching back to what you said before through this, like, do were there any instances from what generally has felt like a career that has kind of been able to move up and
Hmm.
up and up, which I understand because that's happened to me as well with painting. Um,
Hmm.
but were there also moments that kind of rocked you in this career shift, but that you think ultimately
Mm.
have really kind of propelled you to being able to either constantly find this positivity or constantly being able to reach down into your community well? It's just
Yeah.
I think, the older we get, and the idea of switching a career, especially a creative career, is so terrifying and, as you said, so freeing, right? Because it's there's so many facets inside of it.
Yeah.
But I think like it's really important to be able to acknowledge having such empathy and success in
Hmm.
something like photography has to come out of somewhere else as well.
Yeah. Hmm.
Does
Yeah,
all of that?
well, moments. Well, I would say, yeah, does all that make sense? Yes,
Okay.
because because moments that have rocked me are the
Mm,
moments that I was so scared, that I was so afraid, but ultimately those are the most rewarding,
mm,
because if you're not doing things that scare you a little bit, that are
mm,
new, that feel like, ooh, can I do this? then you never challenge yourself, you know?
Yeah.
And I think on one hand, it's okay to be comfortable. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of craziness, there's a lot of stimulus in this era.
Yeah.
So, there's moments where it's okay. You could just do what you do and, and let it rock. It's totally fine.
Yeah.
But I think the the times that you are challenged, and whether you succeed or whether you fail, it's still important that you tried. And so that's like specific moments. I mean, most recently was my film I directed. That was
Yes. Oh my God.
that
Circle
was
of
so
shame,
scary.
right?
Circle of Shame. Yes,
Ah.
actually, I'll show you my award. Hold.
Yes, I was just gonna say, because you won the audience award at the
We
Chelsea Film
did.
Festival. That's
Yes, we
huge.
did. I don't know if you can see me. If I put it on this black, there you go.
I think I just made the worst
Um,
possible sound ever for a podcast.
should we take it
Oh
again?
my
Take
God.
two.
No, I think it's fine. Everyone needs a little scream.
But yes, our film Circle of Shame premiered at the Chelsea Film Festival late last year, October 2025. And we won for the U.S. Narrative Short, hello, Audience Award. So that means we were the audience's favorite because our film is really funny. But so yeah,
Love it.
my the writer and the star, Jacob Hoffman, he is a really good friend of mine and a
I
brilliant
love
screen.
Jacob.
I mean, hello, who doesn't love Jacob? Jacob
Ugh,
is incredible. And talk
star.
about like just, making it happen. Like he is one is obsessed, and I just love his work ethic because that man writes, I don't know how much. It's just an insane. He has a well of,
Mm,
just of stories to express. And so he had reached out to me to read the script. I had been talking about
yeah,
wanting to direct comedies. I'm a silly goofy, and just thought that would be funny. But like as a funny haha, not as like a oh yeah, let's do it. And so then
yeah,
he was like, if you want to direct it, um let me know. And I was like, sure.
yeah,
I've never directed anything before, but I direct performance all the time, and I've shot national campaigns before for stills, and I've
sure.
shot um I've done a little here and there and a little dibble and a dabble, so it can't be that hard, right? Lies.
Yeah.
But
Mm,
we did it at the end of the
nice.
day. But that was one of the scariest moments, but at the end of the day it happened. And I'm so grateful for that experience because that was not easy. That was one of the hardest like artistic experiences really of my career so far.
Mm,
It's just so much preparation. You're thinking about everything. I'm also learning on the fly.
yeah.
Luckily we had some really great producers that came on to also help
Mm,
support me because this was my directorial
yeah.
debut. So, there's definitely
Ugh,
a learning curve there that, you don't know until you know. And so, yeah, I'm just so grateful that not only even though the experience like of making the film was intense, and like tough, still, it still changed, and
yeah.
it gave me a sense of confidence moving forward that like, your girl can really do anything if she puts her mind to it,
Hell yeah.
but that's been like my whole career in
Yeah.
photography is like, I don't know, I'll try because I'm kind of naive in that way of like, I can do it, I can figure it out. And
Yeah.
so we just sort of go for it, like throw ourselves in it, and it might get a little bit messy, but most of the time it's been successful. So like, why not try
Yeah.
again?
So, do you because the nature of this podcast is exploring this idea of like what failure is. But what I'm kind of loving with you is that
Hmm.
it doesn't sound like the word failure is necessarily part of your vocabulary. So what I am going to change the definition for a second and
Hmm.
say it sounds like the word that for you is fear, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So
yeah, for
I
sure.
guess like my question is, what is your, can you like zoom in on fears? Is there anything you can share about like really the scariness of taking any kind of leaps like into directing or building your
Hmm.
business? Was there anything
Yeah.
that almost maybe made you go, maybe I can't do this? Uh,
Hmm.
I'm so curious about that anxiety that can happen because I think that
Yeah.
we also, well, anyway, that doesn't matter. But yeah, I would love to like zoom in a little bit on some of
Yeah.
those aspects and ultimately how did those end up making your success feel so much more.
Even
Yeah.
gratifying.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I would say the first, let's see, let me go back in time. Like
Ah.
the first job, the first job that comes to mind that was super scary was probably my first commercial job.
Mm.
That was a huge leap into a very different level of professionalism and just a different level of the industry that I was used to. Again, I'm self taught. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of, to this day, there are still things that I don't know.
Yeah.
And you sometimes you can be made to feel like you're supposed to know everything all the
Mm.
time, and if you don't, you're stupid, or you're incompetent. And that's a huge fear of mine, is being perceived as stupid and incompetent.
Yeah. Oh my
But
God.
the thing is, like, it's happened. I've definitely been on set and I was like, well, it is what, if they think I'm stupid or incompetent, like, it is what it is. Cause
Yeah.
I don't know. You're going to have to clarify for me, So,
Yeah.
but like, we're here. So I'm supposed to
Right.
be here if I'm here.
Right. Oh, you knew where I was in my career when you hired me.
100%,
Yeah.
100%. Um, but yeah, that job this was for like, this is back in like 2021. A an advertising firm reached out to me that I didn't know, and I thought it was spam. But I responded and I was like, yeah, 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 sure, whatever. And then they're like, oh, do you want to get on a creative call? And I was like, okay, sure. And so I'm just being myself, like, la la la, talking like, yeah, this would be, love to work with you all,
Yeah.
whatever. And so then when I got the specs, I was like, and the creative brief and everything, I was like, oh,
This is real.
this is real and this is big. Ah, okay. And so that's when it became, and the thing is, it wasn't my job. Like, this was, I'm auditioning essentially,
Yeah.
for this campaign. And so that's when I was able to like rely on my community. And I was so scared to even reach out to this other photographer, but because I was like, oh God, she's going to think like I don't know anything, but like, I don't know anything. So I
Right.
reached out to her, and she was so kind. And
Yeah.
but yeah,
Oh.
my oh no, even the AirPods
Ah.
scared. I'm like,
No. Ah.
but yeah, I reached out to her, and so she was so kind and so patient and so generous, and like put me, in the right direction to the right people. And so from there, I was able to get the team that I needed to be able to like look, professional enough so that when they actually start to pitch me and, we bid for this job,
Mm.
I actually am as prepared as I can be.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
that whole process was so scary. And I was scared when I got the job. I was like, oh no, now I got the job. oh God, now I have to go do the job.
Yeah.
And again, this was like a campaign for a pharmaceutical company. It was
Mm,
like basically we were shooting, talent for people who are trying to prevent themselves from contracting HIV, PrEP. And so this
lovely.
was like a big PrEP campaign. But
Wow.
because this really spoke to my community and
Yeah.
my, queer people in my life, I was like, I know I can do this job. Like once you get me on
Mm,
set, I can do it. But it's just all the preparation that I had
yeah.
never done before.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, so once I actually got the job, I couldn't believe it. And then from there, it was like, okay, how it takes about a month to prepare to do this like 3 day shoot.
Yeah.
And so every day on set, I was terrified of looking stupid, terrified of looking
Oh my
incompetent,
God.
terrified of looking like a noob. But at the
Yeah.
end of the day, I was a noob, you know? And
Yeah.
so, there's definitely like, I don't know. There's definitely like a guard you can sort of put up, and like maybe the way you ask questions while
Mm,
you're on set or with your assistants.
yeah.
Oh, remind me the name of that mechanism right there. Things like
Do you feel
that.
like it's I think that this is such an interesting conversation, right?
Hmm.
This idea of professionalism, because
Hmm.
I think we always kind of coincide the idea of if I don't look professional, then I am failing in some way, right?
Yeah.
Or I
Yeah.
am misrepresenting something. And I don't like, what do you think is the thing that lets people know they can trust you? I mean, from what you're saying, it sounds like having the right team and not being afraid to ask the questions and kind of
Yeah.
owning where you are is the thing that lets you be a professional. But I'm so curious in something like photography in particular, where it is trial and error
Yeah.
with
And it's
the
very
actual
technical.
people. It's very
Yeah.
technical, and like
Yeah.
the only way you can like, yes, you can photograph a still life, but for the thing that you do in particular, which is capturing people, like you
Yeah.
can really only do that with an actual person.
Yeah. 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 Hmm. I mean, I think, when you're actually on set, it's really about as doing as much preparation as you can. Yeah, not being afraid to ask the questions, but when you can prepare beforehand, watch videos or like reopen up your basics, book to just be like, oh
Yeah,
right, remind yourself of certain basics that sometimes when you're like far off into your craft, you kind of forget the basics in a way. Like they're there, but sometimes you just need,
totally.
need a refresh. um and then, yeah, I mean, for me, like one of my skill sets is like being able to break the ice and talk
Yeah.
to people, and so
Mm,
that's something that's definitely natural for me, but also a skill, and also has
yeah.
been honed, and so being able to sort of weave your way around where it can sort of sort of come off like charming in a
Yeah,
way,
totally.
you know what I mean?
I love it.
That you could sort of ride the toe the line there. But yeah, at the end of the day, when it comes to failure or fear, I guess like failure, know if I necessarily even hold on to failure so much. I don't know. I've just been conditioned or lucky,
Yeah.
or just through trial and error, because like also my acting career, I was working, but I
Yeah.
wasn't getting to that direction, so like there was definitely a sense of failure in that,
Mm,
that I guess with photography I'm not as precious about it because it's less dependent on so many other people, and
Yeah.
it's really based on like my taste and then my skills and whatever. um there's something with acting where if you don't get the job, it's like, oh, they didn't like me.
Yeah.
But with photography and visual arts in general, I like me and I like my work, so like if you don't like it, that's okay.
Yeah. Well, and I love that you are able to, what it sounds like at least, is releasing any shame around
Hmm.
that past career not being what you expected it to be, right? And
Yeah,
that
yeah.
ending up just becoming this fabulous catalyst into a hobby, which then became your like your main enterprise. And
Hmm.
I would love to know. I mean, you kind of already answered this, but to dive into it a little bit more, how do you continue finding joy in this craft now that it is your
Mm,
career, right?
yeah.
It's no longer that thing. And like, do you find yourself craving a new creative hobby now that photography is your business? And if so, what is that hobby? I don't know. I'm just like,
Wow.
oh,
Um,
well,
the thing is, Sharon, I love shooting. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it.
I
So
love
there's
that.
really, yeah, it's not, I'm not bored yet
Mm,
at all, like I can shoot, for work, when I
yeah.
shoot for fun, when I shoot on my phone, like I just love stuff. I just
I
love
love
like
it.
capturing moments or capturing light or, capturing a beautiful tree, whatever. I'm like, oh, it's so pretty. Like even yesterday, my sister and I, Aurelia Williams, she's an actress, Broadway performer. Like she has the career that, at a certain time in my life that I was like, that's my dream.
Mm,
But she's so fantastic. Like she's so funny and her voice is so beautiful. Like she's Broadway girl. She's been in a bunch of shows, Parade. She was in Once in This Island,
mm.
in Transit. Like she's moving to her fourth Broadway show. Just, here to hear first. But
Get it,
for
girl.
a long time, like for the majority of my life, I'd say like that was my dream.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, since, 10 years ago, it's not my dream anymore,
Yeah.
really just continuing, like elevating my career in a way that has more, what's the word, that is just more expansive and can get more eyes on it.
Yeah.
That's my professional dream,
Mm.
is just to keep working, and especially in the commercial space, keep working,
Yeah. I mean, that
and
recent
that.
photo shoot with Kara Young backstage of the Tonys was like
Oh,
so
thank,
epic. Oh
thank
my
you.
God.
I mean, but that took, how, I can't remember who told me this, but it's like, at a certain point, people don't hire you, because, of your price or because of other variables. They hire you to be able to like do the job once well.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that was, one of those cases where it was like, we had no time and everything was crazy and, and like chaotic, but like you still got to make something.
Yeah,
Um,
for sure.
but yeah, I also just recently signed with a commercial agency, Great Friends Agency. So that's been like the new, level up, professionally, is to now have some more professional support, getting people and getting really more companies to be able to like look at my work and be like, okay, yeah, her work really speaks to our brand, and, continuing moving in that direction. But as far as a new creative hobby, I can't say I have a new creative hobby, but I definitely
That's good.
have found a sense of meditation and peace with, it's going to sound so cringe, but
No,
with
do it. Do it. Do it.
fitness, with like going to the gym.
Yeah. I I mean, look, girl, you have gone on this wild fitness journey. I mean, it's so, and I think that there's something that can be correlated as someone that deeply hates the gym with her entire being. I think
I
that
remember
like,
we had a slight conversation about this.
yes, we
Yes.
did. Yes, we did. Yes, we did. I like walk on a treadmill for 20 minutes and I'm like, I hate everything that I'm doing right now, and it's fine. But I think that there is such a correlation between a confidence in feeling like you're doing the thing that you want to be doing that then allows
Mhm.
you to take care of yourself and take care of your body in a
Mm,
different way. And it lets you, I'm not saying you have to be Adonis to have a successful career by any means, but I think finding however you can feel as good and as healthy inside of yourself also
mhm.
keeps adding to coming into a room and showing up and being like, I'm doing everything I can to be my best self. And if that's fitness for
Yeah.
you, or if it's eating a really great meal, or if it's
Mhm.
doing, I don't know, coloring in a monochromatic coloring book for 30 minutes, which has been
Mhm.
my recent
Mhm.
obsession, I think
Love
that
it.
that's all so huge. And it makes me want to ask this question that I know that we all kind of get asked a bunch, but as someone who has had such a wild career trajectory and is now in this place that is still exciting you 10 years in, like, is there something that you would have told your younger self, right? Like, what does it mean to pursue a life as a creative professional? To like define,
Mm.
I'm trying to say this to my nephew who is now 18 and in college, and it's like, I'm
Yeah.
only gonna do theater. And I'm like, okay, I hear that, but
Mm.
also I hear it. But if you are a creative, like your career is gonna have such a crazy up and down. So I
Arc. Yeah.
it's such an arc, right?
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
I guess, I would love to know, what do you want to say to yourself or to other very young
Hmm.
professionals, and what having a creative career
Yeah.
can actually be. What is your advice?
My advice is literally in my bio. I do
Mm.
fancy myself a river.
Mm.
I really do. I really am like I'm lucky enough at this point in well, in this point in my life, but that's the thing. I've always had that. I can't remember the quote now, but it was like, I thought I was being very intellectual in high school, and it was like, if you're gonna walk down the path that's less traveled upon, or something like that. Like,
Mm.
oh, so philosophical at 17.
Yeah.
I, I remember like my dad really liking that quote, and I think I really absorbed a bit of that, because
Mm.
you do you have to stay open. You can't be so rigid and boxed in that you don't even allow your other talents to shine.
Yeah.
You might get into theater or performing, or, singing, or being a musician, or whatever it is, but maybe you realize, oh, I really could do a better job producing that. Or I really could do a better job designing the poster for that, or, whatever it is, like,
Yeah.
or producing the music, whatever. Like,
Yeah.
you have to be open minded.
Yeah.
And like, that's my sister always told me that. She was always like, if you're going to be an actor,
Yeah.
you need to have a hobby.
Yeah.
And like, sometimes I feel like when you have conversations with people, things get very like esoteric and like in the weeds and like philosophical, and I'm very practical. Even though I'm creative and artistic, like,
Mm.
I am a very practical person, and I like to speak plainly.
Yeah.
And I just think having a hobby, just really, really like helps, um what's the word, like, just helps ground you,
Yeah.
and like,
Absolutely.
just gives you some feedback
Yeah.
about something that you like to do,
Mm,
and finding some extra little bit of joy in it,
yeah.
is just really, really important. I
I
think,
agree.
human beings, we have a purpose. We have a purpose to do something,
Yeah.
so,
Yeah. Uh, well,
finding that's important.
I love that. You're magic. Thank you for reminding us
You
all to be a
are.
river. I love you, girl. You're the best.
Love you too.